All right. Welcome to Faith and Cow. This is class 2004. 204. We'll get there. Hopefully not. Hopefully Mashiach will be here way before that. All right. So what we're going to talk about again is, we're excited about Lag BaOmer. We should be excited about Lag BaOmer, but the question is, how do you get excited? And that's really going to be the theme of this class is, sometimes life doesn't make you excited. We're not, and it's difficult. There is a lot of challenges in life. There is no question about it. Hopefully this will be an interesting lesson from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and it's a good story, and it's a great story, and just bear with me because it's going to be explained according to the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe, and he's going to take the story that's very famous, and we probably have said it before on this class, but I think we've got it a little bit clearer this year. And so the lessons will be clearer, and hopefully each year we'll be able to implement more of this because it is a big challenge. What are you talking about here? So let's go with the story first. So the story goes as follows. It's a story in the Medrash Shir Hashirim, and you've probably heard the story before. There was a woman, a rich woman, from the port city of Sidon. Now it's located in Lebanon, but then it was a Jewish town. Anyway, the story is about her, but it's actually about her and her husband. But it says it's a story about her, and you'll see why. The woman is the protagonist of the story. Anyway, she comes to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and says, "I've been married to my husband for 10 years, and we don't have any children. And therefore, according to Jewish law, a person is allowed to divorce. Some rabbis rule that you're supposed to divorce in order to be able to have children. So not every that's a little complicated. It's happened before. People do that. But anyway, that's she comes and she says, "What should I do? We want a divorce and we remarry and see, if we can't each with new partners have a marriage, what children." So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, he says it interestingly. He says, "Biti." He says, no, he doesn't say that. He says, "Buy your life," which is sort of like a shvua, an oath. He says, "How did you get married?" And they say, "Well, we had a nice party." She says, so Shimon Bar Yochai says to them back, he says, "If you got married with a party, then you have to also get divorced with a party," which is an odd advice for a rabbi. I mean, anybody, why is a party related to a divorce? Well, anyway, they follow his directives. She makes a party. She doesn't just make a party. She makes a big yontif. It says in the medrash. She made a big medrash and she invited a lot of people, and she had drinks, and her husband got drunk, and everybody was drinking. And in the middle of the party, I guess he sobered up a little bit, and he says to his wife, "Biti," which means my daughter, which is a sign of affection because they loved each other. As you can see, they didn't want to get divorced, but they did love each other. But children, what the marriage is about, children. So he says, "Biti, my daughter." He says, "Listen, I want look around the house. Whatever you want, whatever you desire, whatever expensive painting, jewelry, whatever you want, feel free. I want you to take it home with you when you go back to your father's house. It's my gift to you to show that I still." Okay. So after a while, people leave and he falls asleep, probably from the alcohol. And the woman goes and she tells her servants. Now you can see that she was rich. She had a lot of stuff. She had servants. She tells the servants, "Listen, pick up the bed, take my husband, and take him with you, and bring him back to my father's house." And that's what they did. They took the whole bed and him, and she went back to her father's house, and so did he. In the middle of the night, the guy wakes up, and it's a shaker. Can you imagine? You wake up in your in-laws' house, in the middle of the night. He thought, where am I? He says, The wife says, "You're here. You're in my father's house." And he goes, "What am I doing here? I thought we divorced." And she says, "No, no, I'm following your directives. I'm telling you what you told me to do." And he says, "What do you mean?" And she says to him, she says, "You told me to take the most precious thing from the house. Well, you know what? I looked around the house and there's nothing more precious than you. So therefore, I took you." At that point, they decide to go back to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. They ran to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and they said, "What are we supposed to do now?" And he says, "I'm going to give you a blessing that you should have children." And therefore, then he gave them a blessing to have children, and they had children. Now, obviously, the story needs some explanation because if he was going to bless them with children, then he should have done it to begin with. Why did he go through this whole business of the divorce? What was the point of that? What was the point of the party? Why did you get him drunk? Why did he? Why didn't you just tell him that we're going back to my father's house? You know, why did you just say not agree to the divorce? So there's something the rabbi. So the Alter Rebbe and why is the story recorded anyway? What is it supposed to teach us? So the Alter Rebbe, in one of his short memorim, in a book called the Short Memorim, the Short Discourses, explains it as follows. He says, "Listen, the story is coming to answer an important question. And it's not just a question about marriage and divorce and children. It's taught about our relationship in life and about it can be also seen on a spiritual level. And that is the following. It says, listen, there's a relationship between man and woman. There's also a relationship that we have between us and God. God is so to speak, the man in the relationship, and the Jewish people are the women, are the wife in the relationship. And sometimes this relationship is not 100% what it needs to be. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was saying, listen, and so saying, you know what? You have a nice relationship. You're in love with each other, but there's something that needs to be improved. And this divorce, celebrating this divorce, is going to be the solution to kickstarting your relationship to a high new level. What's the problem on the spiritual level? The spiritual level is as follows. It says in many places in Chassidus, it explains that our emotions and our joie de vivre, our love for life, our love for our experience, sometimes there's a blockage between our emotions and our mind. And the mind, the mind is considered the father and the mother, the Chachma and Bina, the father of the emotions. And sometimes we know in our head a certain thing is the right thing, but we're supposed to feel something. It's a holiday or something, but nevertheless, the emotions are not being born. And that is what is happening. There was a blockage in the emotions. And therefore, we're going through life with our Judaism is not being experienced in our emotions and our love and our awe of Hashem. We're not alive to the situation, and therefore we're blocked. And our emotions are blocked, and they're troubled, and we're stressed, and all these other kinds of issues and so forth. And we don't have that feeling that the mind, that we're not able to give birth to that kind of joie de vivre. And you see people that they just have it wherever they go. They're just alive, and you like to be around them. They're they're connected, even in difficult situations. They're full of life. Well, what is it? What is the problem? And the Alter Rebbe says the story is explaining the problem and also the solution. What is he saying? He says they had a good marriage. And they wanted good things, and sometimes we are also, as religious people, we're doing the right things, we're doing the right activities, we're living a good life, but somehow or another, it's not coming alive. So what's the problem? The problem is as follows. The problem is they had a good marriage, but they decided that the most important thing in marriage was an outcome, was a goal of the marriage. The goal of the marriage is more important than the marriage. If we're not having children, then we're not really having a marriage. And therefore, we have to end the marriage. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was saying, you know what? Sometimes it'll trigger the realization will be triggered when you realize that you have to break, when you break the marriage, and then you realize it's the marriage that's the most important thing and not necessarily the children. That's what she realized when she took her husband, said, the most precious thing is you. Are we having children? It's important. It's definitely an important thing. It's important to have that. But the most important thing is the relationship itself. And if we have that relationship, then everything else will happen. When they came to that level, they started their marriage on a higher level. They realized, you know what? It is the marriage. It's you. It's not something that we get from it. And the same thing with our relationship with God. Sometimes we're happy with God because he's treating us nicely and we're getting everything that we want and all the things are going well in our lives and so forth. But are we really in love with Hashem, or we want because Hashem has the bank account and he gives us all the good stuff? And therefore, that's why we love Hashem. Well, then Hashem says, you know what? Says, the thing I really want is, the relationship. When a person realizes, I love my relationship with Hashem, whatever Hashem's given me right now, it's as good as when he gives me everything. He gives me everything. I'm happy with him because I'm happy with him. All of a sudden, God says, I can be unlimited. I can come down. I can give you blessings. In that situation, when you're in love with me and you're not waiting for something to happen for you, I can definitely come into that relationship and I can bless you. And that's what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai basically was able to do. He says, once they reach that level, now you're a vessel. You're a vessel to receive all those blessings because you know what? You're loving with Hashem. In one level, this is the simplest way to live because you're not necessarily waiting for all these sort of things good to happen to you, and you can be in love with life at every moment. On the other hand, as Rabbi Wise said, and as I certainly say, this can be a lot of work, and we're not in that place all the time, and that's okay. Sometimes, you know what? It's not happening, and we have a lot of blockages. But you know what? You have to be in love with Hashem. That's what it is. And when you're in love with Hashem, then all of a sudden, all the obstacles go. And that's what it means to experience life. You can experience life in every situation. Is it running well today? Is everything going well in the class? Is all the kids behaving right? Am I having good relationships with my family? You know what? This is life. I didn't decide it. I didn't organize it. God seems to want this. How is this supposed to go? And you know what? I can be in love with life even when, because I'm in love with Hashem, and He is life, and therefore I'm in love with Hashem. Everything goes. And this is what the Alter Rebbe said, which I said over and over again, which says, I don't want your Gan Eden. I'm not looking for the outcome. I just want you. I just want the Eibishter. And the Baal Shem Tov also has a story like this. The one time there was a couple that kept bothering him for children, and he never gave them a blessing. And finally he broke down and gave them a blessing. And then he heard a bas kol, a voice from heaven, come out, and it said the following. It says, you're losing your share of the world to come, because they were not supposed to have children, and you gave them a blessing for children. And the Baal Shem Tov was happy about that, because now he says, now I can serve God for no alternative motive, that I'm just connecting with Hashem. This is sort of the secret that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai taught, and the secret also for Lag BaOmer. He taught the Jews how that our relationship with God is not about how much He gives us, and about whether we're counting, actions and it is about actions and deeds, and it is about children, and it is about health, and it is about all those kinds of stuff. But you know what? Just being connected with God and being with Him, it doesn't get any better. And then all the other things flow from that. And it changes the relationship that we have, because we don't necessarily always have the right expectations. God is definitely doing the right expectations, and He's definitely bringing us to the right place. It's just that, you know what? It's on a level that we're not Him. But you know what? This is what the couple realized. They realized it, and they came together again, and they got the blessings, because God says, I can now be 100% in that situation. You're not looking at necessarily me, the things that I give you. You're actually in love with me, myself. And that's what that couple also realized. You know what? We can celebrate our marriage as our marriage. I we started a little late, so we have another story I like along these lines. Rabbi Zalman Garari once told a story about a man who came to him. He was a friend of his. He knew him very well, not so religious, and he had a daughter who was sick, and he needed and she had some sort of stomach problem, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And the doctors were saying we're going to have to do an operation, and we don't know if it's going to be successful. And he got more and more worried about this. And Rabbi Garari said, listen, I'm not the address to go for questions of what to do, whether to follow the doctors or not. Come to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I'll get you an audience with him. So he came in the middle of the night, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he gave him a full report to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe told him, I said, I don't think that you should do the operation right now. You should wait a couple months. And in the meantime, I have a question for you. What school is your daughter enrolled in? And he said, oh, she's in a Jewish school. And he was very proud that she was in a Jewish school. The issue was, it was Jewish, but it didn't teach Torah. It was all Jews, but it wasn't focused on Torah. So the Rebbe told him, he said, you know what? I think you should take your daughter out of that school and put her in a Beis Yaakov. And the man got actually sort of upset because, I mean, religious school, my wife likes the school. I like the school. It's teaching her great things. The girl likes the school and so forth. And what are you going to learn in the Beis Yaakov? You won't learn as much as you learn she's learning now in her school about, university and pre-university and all that other kind of stuff. So the Rebbe said, that's interesting. You come to me for medical advice and you want to listen and you're happy with it and you're going to listen to what I say. But when you ask me about educational advice, you don't. And that's my business. So the man left and, he followed the medical advice. He didn't take the girl to the doctor, but he didn't change the school either. And time went on and she kept getting sicker and sicker. And then he called up Rabbi Garari, and Rabbi Garari called into the office, and the Rebbe had one question: have you taken your daughter out of the school yet? And she said, well, he said, no, do it now. So she was very sick. He took her out of the school. She couldn't even go to the school anymore, but he enrolled her in the new school. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, she started improving. The cyst broke. The doctor said they don't need to do the operation. And he basically, he put his own fixed idea about how life is supposed to be on the side. And she got 100% well. He came later to the Rebbe, and he said he wanted to thank the Rebbe so much for his advice and the miracle that he did for him. And the Rebbe said, the miracle is not that your daughter got well. The miracle is that you listened to me. In other words, again, the connection, the relationship, I don't know what the story is. Sometimes I don't know how the story is going to resolve, and I don't know how you're going to get through the particular issue. And that's okay. You know what? I'm happy with life right now. When you're happy with life right now, doors open for you. Doors open. I think it's a great lesson, and I had to use this a number of times this week because things were not open and things were not going well. And you know what? They're still not 100% well, but you know what? I think that they're going to be well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my wife, who is always the joie de vivre. No, she's not. No. Okay. We're recording here, and it's all good.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And she got her. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm going to be extraordinarily brief, like really extraordinarily brief. So does anybody have any questions before I begin? You're muted. Sorry. Oh, you're singing after Bracha. Okay, good. So I'm really going to be brief. I'm going to say the 4 things that I always say, and then, then I'm just going to be on for another couple of minutes. The 4 things I always say are, number 1, we're in an extraordinary time. How do I know that? Not that I know anything. I just know that the Lubavitcher Rebbe said that the redemption is unfolding, and everything the Rebbe said came true. So I'm investing in the Rebbe. You know, my father told me that if you have a good stock, you stick to it. He said, if it goes up, if it goes down, if it goes up and down, you just ride it through. So sometimes what the Rebbe said, you know, we're in the redemption. Sometimes it doesn't look like the redemption, but the Rebbe is good stock. The Rebbe was never wrong about any public pronouncement, and he made the wildest public pronouncements, and they all came true. And this one is also coming true. So anyway, we're in an extraordinary time. You and I were handpicked to be at this time, this incredible time. Number 3, we have all the tools we need. We have the Torah, which is our guidebook for life, and we have the mitzvahs, which are our power tools, which are personally transformative. They make you into more of you than you ever dreamed possible. And finally, what we're doing tonight, learning about Mashiach, actively advances it. Rebbe said there's nothing that speeds it up more than learning Torah about Mashiach. So I'm just going to say that that's, you know, what Yeskel Shimon said was so important, and that's what I try and live by too. And when I don't live by it, I'm a wreck. I'm a mess. And so even this Shabbos, you know, I've had a state of insomnia, which I think is linked to a particular health thing, and that hopefully will be corrected. But anyway, so yeah, so something happened, and I got extremely upset about it. And it was right before bedtime, and I was so sleepless. I had missed so much sleep this week. It was not normal. And I thought, oh my gosh, you're all worked up and now you're gonna go to sleep. You're gonna have another 0 night, another who knows what kind of night you're gonna have. And that was making me more nervous. And then all of a sudden I remembered, there's nothing exists but Hashem. If this is what, and I said, Hashem is my favorite line. It helps me every time. If this is what you want, this is what I want. If you want this, if you want insomnia, I'm with you. I want it also because I want what you want. And of course, I had a great night because when you realize that Hashem loves me and everything he does for me is good.
What do you mean? Of course, you had a great night. What does that mean? That you
I
fell
slept.
asleep and
I
slept?
slept nicely.
Oh,
I slept beautifully. And
okay.
and it happened it very often when I do that, when I, you know, in the middle of anxiety or in the middle of angst, if I all of a sudden I remember Shlomo Sudas, who are you dealing with? You're dealing with somebody who loves you more than your mother ever possibly could love you, more than any human being could ever possibly love you. So infinitely, it's, you know, and wants only the best for you, is your cheering squad, invented you, launched you, did everything. And then, you know, when your trust comes back, life seems to go along with it. It's much better. So anyway, I'm simply going to end by inviting everybody, you know, this group that I belong to, Geula Generation. I listen to, I take an hour-long class every day, and I learned I learned the most recent writings, the most recent talks of the Rebbe, the last 11 months that the Rebbe was speaking, and those are the talks that the Rebbe wants people to learn. And so this group is meeting in Crown Heights. We meet on Lag BaOmer every year, and Lag BaOmer is an incredibly powerful time. It's and the Rebbe is very aligned with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. There's some kind of deep soul connection there. So I would say that if you can come in Crown Heights and on Sunday morning, first there's the parade, and then there's you can be in touch with me and I'll tell you the details, or you can go on geulageneration.org probably. And
what did they do at this parade?
oh, every year there's not every year. So it only happens when Lag BaOmer is on Sunday. When Lag BaOmer is on Sunday, there's a grand parade, and there are magnificent Jewish floats, and there are marching kids, and
That's interesting.
and one float after another, and they're huge, and they're so interesting. It's like the Macy's Day Parade, but Jewish. And
this year it's on a Sunday?
this year Lag BaOmer is Sunday, Saturday night, Sunday. And
I didn't even know.
yeah, yeah. So it's magnificent in Crown Heights when it's
I
sunny.
can't think that far ahead.
Yeah. Okay, good. It's magnificent, and I would urge everybody to come. I think the parade, it's called the Grand Parade, and I think it's at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then our convention follows at noon. So anyway, so with that, I'm going to end because I didn't even begin to prepare for school and do other things that I have to do, and I'm going to wish you a magnificent Lag BaOmer, and and you should do whatever you can to capture that day. You should do whatever you can to grab hold of it. And yeah,
I'm
so
supposed to work, but I know I'm not gonna be able to go back to work yet. I can't be happy about it. I'm sorry. I'm not like such a Madriga.
uh-huh.
It's
Anyway, I'm
gonna be
gonna go.
my third Sunday that I'm taking
Oh
off.
yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna end the recording and end the class too. And I'm gonna wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful Lag BaOmer. And I'm gonna listen to Haskell Schimm's class again because I thought it was an awesome one. Okay, be well, my loves. Good night.